So, um, all right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Jessica from Rootskeeper. Good to meet you if I haven't already. I'm excited to be online with you today talking about the upcoming Protect California Food Day of Action on July 16th. I'll be co-leading this call with David Greenson and David Brown, also both of Rootskeeper. So at the top of this call, we're going to be talking a bit, but most of our time together is going to be pretty interactive. We want to hear from all of you, and even more importantly, we want to give all of you a chance to hear from each other. So before we do that, I want to thank you for stepping up to host an event. By doing this, you're taking action to educate folks in your community and help build the movement for a nation free of the toxic methods of oil drilling that are threatening our water and our health and our climate. And this call will provide you with everything you need to know to run a successful event, step by step. So before we get started on that, let's do a quick go around and see who has joined us. So why don't we say our name, say where we're calling from, and a few words about why you're concerned about oil wastewater being used for irrigation. So I'll go first. Again, my name's Jessica. I'm calling from Oakland. And one of my biggest concerns is thinking about the folks who are working in these fields, the folks who are being exposed to this toxic wastewater without any protective gear on a daily basis, and kind of the occupational health issues around that. So that's one of the reasons I'm working on this issue. Who wants to go next?
This is Sylvia. I'm from Sacramento, and I'm concerned about our country being poisoned by our food.
It's a big one. Go for it, Mary Kay. I see your hand up.
I'm a vegetarian of 36 years, so I have always been trying to eat organic whenever possible. And so the poisoning of our water and food and air and land and soil and oceans and all that, really the biggest environmental peeve that I have is poisoning food. Especially with the fracking wastewater and also GMOs.
Yeah, it's a big one too. Who wants to go next?
I can go. This is David Greenson, calling from the other coast, from North Carolina. I think, what everybody said already, I could concur with. But I think one thing I would add is that I would love to see, in this issue and in so many issues, a more robust, independent, scientific presence on these issues. I feel like it's very hard, as a progressive, I'm often find myself arguing with conservatives about how we have to trust science, but then if the scientists are, essentially getting paid by the industries, then you don't really know how to hear what their returns are. So I'd love to see with this and sort of ongoingly more and more independent science that really can render, a verdict that's not tainted by industry.
Yeah, thanks, David. Definitely. Who's next? It looks like we have a couple of folks on the phone who haven't gone yet. Do you want to introduce yourselves if you're calling in?
This is Giovanna Frank Vitale. I help with communications for Californians Against Fracking and this oil wastewater initiative. I'm concerned about this for many reasons, but one definitely is that it seems like I'm scared that some of the foods that are supposed to be healthiest for us and for me may be poisonous, and we need answers.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for being here, Giovanna. And who else do we have calling in? Someone else on the phone lines? Maybe you're muted. We can't hear you if you're trying to talk to us. All right, well, we'll move on. But we'd be happy to hear from you if you can figure it out. And thanks for joining us.
So I'll go. So, hey, I'm David Braun, and I think for me, what motivates me is a friend of mine was given bladder cancer because she was drinking water that was laced with dry cleaning chemicals. And she got bladder cancer when she was 20 years old. Her name is Sandra Steingraber. And because of that cancer, she went on and did her life's work working in science and was a research scientist and a biologist for many, many years, and has continued that work on to trying to deal with these issues as well. And I think that no one should have to ever be poisoned in their food or water supply. And what on earth are we doing allowing for practices and processes that utilize chemicals in, especially in the kind of large quantities that are used in the oil and gas industry to produce anything? It's just counterintuitive, and for the long range survival and peace on this planet, we just simply can't allow these sorts of practices to continue. So I think we have a great opportunity working on this issue. I think this is one that definitely viscerally causes a strong response from people when they hear that this practice is going on. And so I'm really excited to be here and a part of this team of folks that is getting out the word and taking this issue head on.
Awesome. Thanks, David. And thanks, everyone. Those are all fabulous reasons to be working on this. My goodness, we have a lot of work to do. I'm going to pass things over back to David for some context around these actions, why we're doing them, and some of the latest political updates around this issue. So take it away, David.
Yeah, so the latest political update is that the Water Board has put out a fact sheet that is misleading. So basically what they're saying is we did testing. Well, guess what? Chevron did testing, and Chevron found that it was safe. Well, imagine that Chevron is the one that's putting the chemicals in the water and is making money off of selling this water to the Water Board. Well, then the the Coella Water District itself, right? So that's the water district that's taking the water from Chevron and then is selling it to farmers. So then a part of that fact sheet is the Coella Water District put out a study, and now they say that the practice is safe. Well, again, the Coella Water District is financially benefiting from this practice. And when the head of the Coella Water District was interviewed by CBS San Francisco, when she asked him why it had taken so long for this practice to come to light, he stopped the interview and ushered the reporter out of the room. So this isn't really an organizational body that has any interest in demonstrating transparency. Again, they are financially benefiting from this potentially toxic arrangement. So basically the Water Board, sadly, rather than taking an independent stance on this issue, are trying to claim that this practice is safe long before we have any independent science that actually demonstrates that this practice is safe, which is, disingenuous to their purpose, their stated purpose of, making sure that our water is safe. So that's happening, and folks should know about that. Luckily, our friends over at the Center for Biological Diversity have produced their own fact sheet, and we have been supporting them in this. Jessica and I have been attending all of the meetings and following this process. And we have scientific insiders that have been watching this who say that this process is being overly politicized and it is not being sufficiently scientifically analyzed. And so because of that, it is absolutely critical that we continue to mount a strong response to this. The oil and gas industry is in the face of Jerry Brown and are in the faces of the Water Board. They're currently lobbying the Water Board and all of these experts trying to say, hey, this isn't a big deal. And so it's absolutely critical that we try and get as many people out and we try and make as big of a deal of this as we can going into this weekend. And as we continue on and getting signatures on these petitions, sharing this out on Facebook and social media, and getting out the word. People are definitely having a visceral response. We're really excited about the 10 actions that we have planned, Jess?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, so we're super excited about all of the 10 actions around the state. We think this is a really great moment, and we're really grateful to be working with you guys to get out the word. So I think that's about it for me. Anybody have any thoughts or questions about the political landscape or the situation that we're currently facing before we move on to some more of the nuts and bolts of what's going on?
Stack Sylvia.
Yeah, Sylvia, go ahead.
I have a question about the water districts. Are they private, owned?
I don't believe so, but I can check in on that. I believe they are public. But they obviously are not transparent. I don't know what the governance model is behind them. That's a super good question, and
I
one
think we
that I
need
will.
to find out.
Yeah, I'll try and get an answer to that.
I can do
I
some research.
believe they are publicly owned, because it's like, for instance, in Oakland, we have East Bay Municipal Utility District, which is our water district, which is basically for all of Alameda County, some of Contra Costa, I think, as well. And I'm fairly certain it's like a public utility. So I think the water districts should have some public oversight in our potentially public utilities, but I will find out.
Okay.
Thanks for the question. That's a really good one. Any other thoughts or questions about the political landscape, what we're facing, what we're dealing with before we jump into more specifics?
Did you see, I think it was Earth Justice put out the Gulf of Mexico, the fracking wastewater that has been dumped unbeknownst to everyone into the ocean, or the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
Huge.
Huge. And of course, our friends over at Center for Biological Diversity had filed a lawsuit again to the EPA, stopping industry from doing offshore fracking here in California, and basically saying you have to do these environmental impact studies and assessments. And within 6 months, the industry had turned around in cahoots with government and produced basically these documents that were not based in science, that basically said, here we fulfilled your darn requirements, but they didn't actually study anything substantially. Their science was totally questionable and rang hollow, and so they were able to restart fracking offshore. And I think they're able to inject something like, or dump something like a couple of billion gallons of wastewater directly into the waters off the California coast, which is in like the Santa Barbara area. This is fracking fluid going untreated, dumping straight into that area. Unconscionable stuff, but this is currently what's happening. So, yeah, I mean, we're, the plans, and just to, kind of give you a little bit of a window, there are plans for us to continue this campaign and to expand it as we move into the fall. So currently we're talking about oil and gas wastewater, but this campaign will be talking about these greater issues as we move forward. And so these things are definitely not going unnoticed and are obviously totally egregious. So thanks for that, Mary Kay. Yeah. Any other thoughts on the kind of the or the political update or where we stand currently? Okay.
Well, I watched C-SPAN, the whole platform committee hearings. It was amazing. It was amazing what got accomplished, and it's amazing what didn't.
Yeah, well, we did our best there. I was there all weekend, and we really tried, and it's really unfortunate. The fracking ban lost, and we got it. Yeah, it's a conversation for another day, because I could go on for hours. So anyway, yeah, I'm glad. Thanks for watching, and thanks for following it as well, Sylvia. We ultimately, before we move on, let me just say this. We've given birth to integrity in politics in a way which we haven't seen in years, since probably JFK. And we have to be patient with our process of change. That sometimes you don't want things to change too rapidly because it can cause too much upheaval. And so I think for this year, we've done very, very well. I'm very, very proud of our accomplishments. We obviously didn't get everything we wanted, but it would have been a shock if we actually had. The genie has been let out of the bottle with political integrity. We are excited that it has been let out of the bottle, and we don't think it's going to go back in. So the political revolution and integrity politics continue and will continue to grow. And this is just a beginning. It's certainly not an end by any means. So while we didn't get everything we wanted, this is not the beginning. This is not the end. It's just the beginning, and I'm excited to see where things go from here. So anyway, so let me go ahead and turn the call over to David Greenson, who's going to take us through the overview of our events and what we're up to. So David, take it away.
Cool. Thanks, David. So I wanted to just take some time to just do nuts and boltsy kinds of stuff. I hope everybody's had a chance to look at the host guide, and we'll just walk through some of the basics of, what to do before, during, after, etc. Before we actually walk through, just wanted to know if anybody has any particular questions around logistics just up front to make sure we get to those, and then we can sort of do the overview. Does anybody have any questions about logistical stuff? Okay, excellent. So a lot of this is in the host guide, but just wanted to lift up a few things in particular that in terms of overall stuff, it's always great to work with partners to recruit someone to help you put the event together, so it's not all on you, to think through stuff ahead of time, which is obviously what we're doing even right now. And last but not least, do your best to have a good time, because that's good in its own right, and it's also infectious and will help with all the folks that are participating. So before the event, couple of things, mainly just nailing down logistical stuff like where you're going to meet. I think one big thing that probably y'all have already done, but just to be sure, is that to make sure that the place that you're planning to go to, that it's okay for you to be out there collecting petitions. If there's any question, like if you haven't seen people doing it or you haven't asked, it would not be good if you show up and then you have to go and people come to find you and you're not there because you had to leave. So it's obviously that's really number one with a bullet, is just make sure that it's okay to be there. And then obviously just having the printed materials ready, the petitions for folks to sign, the fact sheets, etc. So that's the main thing about just getting prepared is all of that. And then obviously recruiting people to come join you. If it's nice. Obviously this is the kind of thing that if it's just you and maybe even one or two other people, you can you can probably handle a pretty good flow. But it's nice to have a bunch of folks there that can engage in longer conversations with people. If it's just you, somebody has a bunch of questions, and you get caught up with them, and then somebody else comes by that you might have talked to. So it's, if you can recruit people to come help, it's always the more the merrier with this. And folks will be signing up as the event gets promoted. But it's always good to just invite people that invite friends and people that you might enjoy spending some time with. Set a goal for how many you're hoping to have there, and reach out to your network. Ask people directly. There's a bunch of things in the guide, about how to do it with Facebook and so on. But I always find that personalized invitations are most effective when you ask somebody directly. You're much more likely to get a good response and a response you can count on than through all the more ephemeral ways of putting the word out, which are also good to do. It's not an either or. So that's before. The day of, just make sure that you're there on time. Even a little early is always a good idea. Make sure you've got pens. If you have clipboards, that's always really great so people can fan out. But, not super necessary. A table is always good if you can bring a small folding table. Great to document the event. So take pictures so you can post them on Facebook. Encourage other folks to do that. You could have someone that's their main job even, is just to take pictures and live tweet, post things on Facebook, etc. We're using this hashtag of hashtag #ProtectCAFood. It's great if anything you tweet or put on Facebook to include that tag. And then maybe at the very end of the event, pull people together that have been helping out and just thank them, obviously, but also talk about next steps. We're going to have this delivery action in Sacramento on August 10th. Is that right, folks? What's the date?
August 9th.
August 9th, sorry. So, let people know about that. Anybody, obviously, folks that are in the Sacramento area, it would be great if we could get a good turnout for this, for the drop-off. But also, folks willing to travel, it's always great to get people to come to Sacramento. That's the big follow-up action. After the action, always good to debrief with the folks that helped you out. Just, go over what was effective, what you might want to do differently next time. I think debriefing things is it's often left off, but it's how we learn, right? It's to really solidify what we did that was effective, and also, gee, if we ever did this again, maybe we should remember to do X or Y or Z, or not just bring, Sharpies for people to sign the thing. We should probably have some ballpoint pens, or, obviously that's probably not a mistake you would make. But the other thing is that we want to get all the petition signatures entered. So you can go to protectcafood.org and just go ahead and enter in the names and email addresses of the folks that signed your petition. And that way they get added to the ongoing number that we're going to be delivering. So that's one big step. And then thanking via email anybody that showed up to help support. You can email people from the event page that you have, and we can talk about how to do that if you have questions. Or we're also going to be having another call to debrief this collectively next Tuesday at noon, so we can talk about follow-up steps at that point as well. So that's the basics. This is a nice event in that it can be relatively simple, but it's a great opportunity to have conversations with folks. And there are lots of ways to dress it up and have signs and do fun stuff, but not necessary. Any questions for anything I've gone over, anything I didn't cover, or anything anybody wants to ask? Yeah, Mary Kay.
The fact sheet, you were going to get that to us? I was going to put it on the back of the flyer picture that you chose.
Yeah. Is that fact sheet? Is it ready for prime time, Jess?
It was just sent to us literally minutes before this call started. So I'll send it over to you today.
Okay. We'll also post it on the website. And just one thing to write down, folks, is that any materials, we're going to keep all the materials together. If you go to protectcafood.org/, Host Hub, with both host and hub with a capital H, Host Hub, that's your dedicated page that will have where you can download the petition. We'll have the fact sheet. So if you ever lose track of anything and you need to find it, and if there's any new stuff, we'll make sure to keep putting any new things up there so that everybody has access to that.
Okay.
So we can send around that URL, but it's easy enough to remember. It's just protectcafood.org/hosthub with capital H's. At least I'm pretty sure they're capital H's. I'm going to check it right now just to make sure. Any other questions? Okay.
That's Sylvia.
Yeah, Sylvia, go ahead.
My event's a little different. I passed out petitions last Sunday to
Okay.
folks, and they're all going to different farmers markets and different grocery stores.
Woohoo!
So
Great.
what's up on the website doesn't match what I'm doing, but I want to amend the description on the website to say, go to this website, download a petition, and go on your own to wherever you want to go to get petitions, and then email them to me when you're finished, so that people that are signing on because of getting an invitation will know what to do. Because it's sort of a closed event, but there may be others that want to join.
Yeah, so you're saying that you really want people not to come to yours, but to do their own.
To do their own.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think what you can do is a couple of things. So you can amend your event description to say that if you want, and you can encourage people to email you or call you if they have questions about what to do. But we can amend your event description. If people go to protectcafood.org and then the Take Action July 16th thing, it always gives them the option to either come to an existing location or to host their own. So we could just keep telling people go there. If they're really not comfortable doing their own for whatever reason, I think it's probably better that they participate in some way. And I'm sure if they come to wherever you are, you can talk to them and send them off with some petitions right there on the spot, to go someplace else.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to keep them from having to come to me before they went somewhere else.
I think I can show you how to you can pull the list of people that have signed up for your event. So one thing that I can show you all is that if you and maybe what I'll do is do a quick let's do a quick screen share, and I can show you. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So if you, all right. Okay. So if you go to, all right, you don't have to watch any of this yet. I'm just going to give you a, so hold on a second. Let's go here. And let's go to, let's go to Sylvia's. Okay, so when you log in to if you go to actionnetwork.org, and then it'll ask you to log in, and you log in as yourself.
Okay.
You can you'll see that your it'll have this little button that says actions. And if you look on there, you'll see yours listed here. You'll see the name of your action right on there, and you can click on this manage button.
Oh, great. That's what I was looking for. How to.
And when you go there, so it'll say, Sylvia's action, whatever it says up here. And if you look down here, one of the buttons is download RSVP. And if you click on that, it's a two-step thing. It'll say, we'll email you a link when we're ready. And of course, since it's only a few people, it will in literally 10 seconds. You just go check your inbox. As a link, you can download the RSVPs. So for example, I did that before this call, and it pulls up the names of all the people that have signed up, right? So then you've got your email addresses right here. you can just use that to reach out to people, to email them and let them know, whatever you want. So if you want to encourage them to download the petition, you could send them that link, Sylvia. Okay.
That's what I'm thinking of, is sending them a link and then talking to them about it over the phone, and then they can download a petition and go to their nearby Walmart.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you can use this to do all that. So that is that.
Great.
Stop the share here. Excellent. Okay. Any other question?
Was there a going to be an outreach you mentioned to that you all were going to send this to like some affiliate groups or something like that, or?
You mean to recruit folks to come to the actions?
Yeah, because I noticed like I've only got 2 emails signed up on mine, and I wasn't sure. I mean, I will do the promoting of it as well, but were you going to hook us up with some other groups that might be interested, or?
Yeah, so I think most folks are sending out the emails this week to promote it, and we're going to be talking later on the day with the various organizations that are, I'm not sure what their timetable is or how far they're sending it. David, Jessica, do you guys know if there's specific commitments yet, or if it's just people are saying that they're going to send it to whomever they send it, or what's the story there? Do you guys know?
I'm pretty sure folks are going to send it to all of their members within vicinities of the posted events. I know Food and Water Watch is not going out till later today. I know, like you said, a lot of folks aren't going to be sending recruitment emails out until today, tomorrow, and through the week. But I do believe they're going to be recruiting for all of the events.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
generally speaking, anonymous emails that just go out to anybody, it's not a bad idea for it to go a little closer to the time because people are less likely to forget, even though, of course, there'll be automatic reminders for them to go. There's been data that shows that when you invite people, a week early, which would seem like common sense, people are much more likely just to forget all about it. It's different with people that you know because it's good to get it on their calendar. And once it's a more personalized invitation, people tend to be a little more accountable. It's more with the collectivism, people clicking on a thing, they're more likely to do it if it's a little bit closer to the time of the thing itself. So,
Right.
Other questions? Excellent. Okay. Well, I am going to now, for our next section of the call, we're going to talk a little bit about media outreach. And I'm going to turn things over to Giovanna to talk a little bit about that.
Yep.
Berlin Rosen.
Great. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. This is Giovanna at Berlin Rosen. I work on the communications for this effort. Some of this may be too much information for some of you. I know not everyone on this call is doing media outreach, so apologies in advance if some of this isn't relevant to you, but hopefully it's helpful just to give you a lay of the land of how media outreach is happening for this event on Saturday and what you should know. So I'm going to talk about just the general media plan and timeline, some logistics for media, some overview tips for interviews, and that's it, and then answer any questions. So everyone on this call should have received a template media advisory from Jessica, and this is a tool that is used in media outreach to in a very short way explain to reporters the who, what, when, where, and why for an event that they're being invited to. So if you are on point for sending that out, you should adjust the advisory to go out today or tomorrow at the latest. And then you also should have received media lists targeted to the area where you're having your action. And those reporters on there should get the advisory, and then you can be following up with them now through the day of to try to get reporters interested in coming to the event and also just interested in the issue. You should have also received like a detailed script if it would be helpful. And then I would recommend sending the advisory out again on Friday one more time. And then we'll also be providing a press release template, and a press release, unlike a media advisory, has a little more information. It usually has quotes, and it's something that goes out to media the day of the announcement. So you'll be receiving that template in the next day or two, and that will again have holes that you can fill in and send that press release out on Saturday, either during the action or right after. And then some like other media logistics. You know, if you are on point for media for your action, I would ask that you make sure if it's you or someone else who's on the ground is on point for press. That should be the same person who is listed on the media advisory as being the point of contact, so that when reporters, if they have any questions, they can follow up with you or that person, and then when and if they come to the event, they know who to ask for. Also, if you're on point for media coordination, you should identify a couple of people who are your go-to spokespeople, so that if any reporters attend, you can immediately suggest who they speak with. You know your attendees better than me, but in a dream world, you would have someone who's an expert who could talk about the science or the lack thereof, the research that's been done, and the government landscape. Someone who can talk as a shopper, as a parent, as a consumer, someone who's a community leader or elected official. You don't need all of these things, but they're just ideas for thinking through who of your attendees would be good spokespeople. And then for interviews, if you or someone else is doing an interview with a reporter, some like kind of overarching tips and best practices. The big thing I would say is for interviews, before you do any interview, really think about what's the one thing you want to get across, what's the soundbite. And I find when I go into an interview thinking about that, it actually makes doing an interview much easier, because then I really only have like 1 or 3 things that I want to get across and don't have to worry about answering every question with all the details and hitting a million points. So I think in this case, the one, and when I say one, I actually mean 3, the 3 things, I would want to get across in the interview would be the problem, what we're facing here, why you as an individual are concerned about this, and what you want done. So in this case, I would think of something like, we're out here today because farmers across California are being forced to irrigate their crops with wastewater from oil production. There are tons of known toxins and carcinogens used in oil production, and there has been no independent testing to make sure that these things are not on our food. We're here today to get signatures from other shoppers like me to call on the governor to put an end to this now. Something like very simple like that. And you should use your own words, of course, and tailor that to you. But when you think of it that way, there's really only a few key points that you want to make sure you get across. Also in interviews, when I was listening to everyone in the beginning of this call talking through why this is important to them, I thought, man, everyone should just say this to any reporters they do interviews with. Reporters really love personal stories, and the public, when they're, I'm sure just like when you're watching TV or reading the news, it's the personal details and experiences that stick out. So I'd really encourage you, if you're doing interviews or talking to anyone who's coming to your event about doing interviews, I encourage you to really stick to personal stories and why this is so concerning to you. Sylvia, it stuck out to me in the intro when you said, I'm worried that our country is being poisoned. I would talk about that, just why this is of concern to you as a shopper, as a consumer, as a parent, as a Californian. And also another tip for interviews is just really stick to what you know. You can always say in an interview like, oh yeah, I don't know about those details, but let me put you in touch with someone who can get you that. Like anything related to research or the science or the history or what brands are using oil wastewater, all of that kind of stuff. Like, don't feel like you have to be an expert. You can always say in an interview, like, that you'll put them in touch with someone who wants more if they need more background. And I can do that, or Jessica can put them in touch with me or another one of the members of the communications team. I think that's it. I could go into much more, but I know probably not everyone on this call is on point for media, so I think those are the pretty broad strokes. Any questions?
How do we reach you? Just through Jessica at Communications? Is that?
That's fine. You can also email me or call me directly. My email address, I'll say it, but it might be better to just send it around. It's Giovanna, Giovanna .Vitale, V as in Victor, ITALE, at Berlin, like the city, Rosen.com, ROSEN. And my phone number is 646-200-5334.
What area code?
646.
646, and then what?
200-5334.
Okay.
And I dropped it into the chat as well, the phone number and her email.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Giovanna. That was wonderful.
Sure.
Super helpful. Any other questions? Okay, then passing it over to David B. to talk about next steps after the actions.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica. Sorry, I'm just getting back to my screen. I was dropping Giovanna's correct email into the chat. The first one I dropped in there is incorrect. So note that, folks, that there's a dot in between her first name and her last name in her email. So sorry for that mistype of mine. So just bear with me. Okay, great. Now I am back. Cool. So next steps after the actions. So you guys, so Saturday is one day. You know, I think, Sylvia, what you're doing is awesome and exciting and fantastic. Spreading out, getting more people to get out the word in more places is really, to us, what this is about. I mean, certainly getting the press to pay attention to some high-profile events at stores is really great, but ultimately this is about grassroots engagement and getting out the word. I remember when I first started working on fracking in New York back in 2009, we did this thing we called a swarm. And sometimes there was only a few of us, and sometimes there was 15 or 20 of us. But we'd go down to the farmers market in Union Square in New York City every Saturday morning, and we'd get there at 9 in the morning, and we'd go until 12, and then we'd all have lunch together afterwards. And we had our fact sheet about what fracking was, and we had our petition. And so we'd give out our fact sheet, and we'd talk to people about fracking, and we'd get them to sign the petition. And we did that for like 2 years of our lives, pretty much every Saturday morning. And that's kind of what this work obviously is about, getting out and educating people, giving them the fact sheet, getting the signatures, and getting talking to people one-on-one. We don't have the money that the oil industry has, and we're not able to buy off politicians like they do, but we do have the truth on our side, and we do have people power. So as after the 16th continues and after we do this, we're going to continue gathering more petition signatures. We'll be getting more information out to you guys about what's happening in August with our Day of Action on the 9th of August when we go to Sacramento. Of course, Sylvia will be talking with you and your team more about that, but we'll be inviting people to come from near and far to continue to converge on Sacramento to do that. Our friends over at Care2, the petition site, are recruiting people to go to that event. And so that will be a lot of fun. And I'm sure we'll be doing some creative things to highlight the importance of protecting our food in Sacramento on that day. We'll be continuing and forming an ongoing group that will be working on these issues. So we'll be continuing to collect petition signatures and mobilize around this. And then we will probably do some other creative actions. Mark Ruffalo will likely be joining us to, for the long range plan to do potentially more house parties, shine a brighter light on these issues that we're facing in various communities. And we're going to keep pushing back against wastewater and agriculture and the greater issues with oil and communities and toxicity in California as a whole. So stay tuned for that. But for now, thank you everybody for joining with this component in this section and these powerful actions that we're planning for Saturday. And we're really excited to continue to move forward with everybody onto the campaign, the greater campaign in the future. So for now, I'm going to turn things over to Jessica to close us out. Take it away, Jess.
All right. Thanks, David. And thank you again to everyone for being here this afternoon. It's been a pleasure talking to you, as always. Before we conclude, I just want to check and see if there are any lingering questions. So yeah, any other thoughts or concerns or questions before we close out the call?
I printed out 10 of the petitions that are full page, signature ones. Instead of like online, it's just one person at a time, yeah?
Right.
So I was thinking along Sylvia's lines of, trying to recruit some people right there to take that petition with them, especially if they're going to go grocery shopping after the library or whatever, so.
Yeah.
Hoping to do that. Then I took we had yard signs for Protect Our Water, so I'm converting those. I'm recycling those into Protect California Food.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so I'll have kind of good signage.
Great. Fabulous. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Any other questions? All right. So here are just some final tips before we close out. Be sure to check out the host hub that David mentioned earlier. Again, the website for that is www.protectcafood.org/host-hub. And it's all lowercase. So the media advisory template will be up there, as well as the fact sheet, and the host guide and the petition are already there. So be sure to check that out. Keep getting the word out via email, Facebook, talk to your friends, invite your family, just keep spreading the word. Don't forget to reach out to reporters to remind them about the event a few days before, and then again on the day of the event. And take lots of photos. We want to see your event. So send us photos, post them on social media, put them on Facebook, live tweet them, whatever, things like that you do. And please feel free to email them to us. You can email them to either David or myself, or the Protect info at protectcafood.org also works. And if you have any questions, also don't hesitate to reach out. We're all happy to talk to any of you.
Okay.
And we'll be following up with a call next Tuesday at noon. So we'll be sending around the RSVP link to that in the next day or so. So be sure to sign up for that. We'd love to hear how your events go. And I think that's it. Any other lingering questions before we sign off? Okay, thank you so much, everyone. It's been wonderful to talk to you.
Bye, folks. Have a great event.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.